Welcome to Story Time. Tonight's story will carry you softly towards sleep. Close your eyes and let the story take you there. Far out on the edge of a small coastal village stood a lighthouse, perched high on a rocky cliff. Its light, a steadfast beacon, had been guiding ships through storms and fog for generations. It was said that no matter the weather, the lighthouse never went dark. Its glow was constant, a mark of safety for those who braved the unpredictable waters of the sea. At the heart of the lighthouse lived an old man named Elias. For as long as anyone could remember, he had been the lighthouse keeper. His face, weathered by the salt and wind, was kind but quiet, much like the sea that surrounded him. Elias had lived alone in the lighthouse for more years than he could count, and though he rarely ventured into the village below, he was well known to the sailors and fishermen who depended on his light. Every evening at dusk, Elias would climb the winding staircase to the top of the tower, light the great lamp, and settle into his small, cluttered room. From there, he would watch the horizon, his eyes always alert for signs of danger. But tonight, as the sun dipped below the sea and the stars began to peek through the darkening sky, something felt different. The air was unusually still, the waves below unusually calm. Elias, who had spent his life learning the subtle rhythms of the sea, sensed that something was coming. He couldn't say what it was, but there was a certain tension in the air, a sense of waiting. He lit the lamp as always, its warm glow spilling out over the rocks and water, and sat down at his small wooden desk. The lighthouse was filled with the familiar sounds of the night, the low hum of the machinery that kept the light turning, the distant calls of seabirds, the soft rush of the wind as it whispered through the cracks in the stone walls. Elias took a deep breath, letting the calm of the night settle over him. His thoughts drifted, as they often did, to the life he had once lived, many years ago, before he had come to the lighthouse. He had been a sailor, once, a young man with dreams of adventure. But life on the sea had been harsh, filled with long stretches of loneliness and danger. When the opportunity had come to take the position of lighthouse keeper, Elias had accepted it without hesitation, trading the uncertainty of the open ocean for the steady routine of keeping the light burning. Now, many years later, he sometimes wondered if he had made the right choice. He had kept his promise to always keep the light shining, but in doing so, he had shut himself away from the world, content to let life pass him by. The villagers were kind when they saw him, offering small smiles or waves when he came down for supplies, but they knew little of the man who lived in the tower. And Elias, in turn, had grown used to his solitude, accepting it as the price of his responsibility. But tonight, as the moon rose high above the sea, casting a silver path across the water, something stirred in Elias's heart. He couldn't explain it, but there was a restlessness he hadn't felt in years, a longing for something he couldn't quite name. As he gazed out across the dark expanse of the sea, his eyes caught something unusual, a small boat, drifting just beyond the reach of the lighthouse's beam. It was odd, he thought, for any ship to be so close to shore at this hour. The waters were calm, but there was something unsettling about the way the boat moved, slow and aimless, as though it had lost its way. Without hesitation, Elias grabbed his lantern and made his way down the long spiral staircase. His old bones protested with each step, but he moved with a purpose. Reaching the rocky shore below, he held up the lantern, its light flickering in the night air. The boat was closer now, and as it neared the shore, Elias could make out a figure standing at its bow. It was a woman, her figure shrouded in a dark cloak, her face hidden in shadow. She didn't speak as the boat glided smoothly onto the rocks, as if guided by an unseen hand. Elias, his heart racing with a mix of curiosity and caution, stepped forward. "Are you lost?" he called, his voice hoarse from years of disuse. The woman didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped gracefully from the boat, her feet touching the rocks as lightly as if she were walking on air. "I am not lost," she said at last, her voice soft and melodic. "I've come to bring you a gift." Elias frowned, unsure of what to make of her words. "A gift?" he repeated, glancing at the small, weathered boat behind her. There was nothing aboard it, no crates, no supplies, nothing to suggest she had brought anything at all. The woman nodded, her cloak rustling softly in the night breeze. For many years, you have kept the light burning. You have guided countless ships to safety, but you have forgotten to light your own way. Elias felt a shiver run down his spine, though her words were gentle. I don't need gifts, he said, his voice gruff. I have my duty. The woman smiled, a small, knowing smile. Even those with the heaviest burdens need rest, Elias. At the sound of his name, Elias took a step back, surprised. How did she know him? He hadn't spoken his name to anyone in years. Before he could ask, the woman raised her hand, and in it appeared a small object, glowing softly in the moonlight. It was a simple lantern, much like the one Elias held in his hand, but as she offered it to him, he felt a strange warmth radiating from it. Hesitant, he reached out and took the lantern from her, feeling its unexpected weight in his palm. This light, she said, is not for the ships. It is for you. Use it to find your way when the path grows dark. Elias stared at the lantern, its glow steady and warm. He looked up, but the woman was already walking back toward the boat. Wait, he called, but she didn't stop. The boat slid back into the water, and before Elias could say another word, she and the boat had vanished into the night. For a long time, Elias stood on the rocks, staring out at the sea. The lantern in his hand flickered softly, casting a gentle light on the path before him. He had spent so many years lighting the way for others, he realized that he had forgotten to look after himself. As he climbed back up to the lighthouse, the lantern's light seemed to guide his every step, illuminating the stairs in a way that felt strangely comforting. When he reached the top, he set the lantern beside him and sat down at his desk. The restlessness that had been gnawing at him was gone, replaced by a deep sense of peace. Elias knew that the woman, whoever she was, had given him more than just a lantern. She had given him a reminder, a gift of light to guide him in the moments when the loneliness seemed too great, when the weight of his duty felt too heavy. The lighthouse would always be his home, his responsibility, but for the first time in years, he felt as though he wasn't alone in carrying the burden. As the night wore on, the lighthouse's great beam continued to sweep across the sea, a constant, steady presence in the darkness. And beside it, a smaller light flickered softly, its glow warm and steady, a reminder that even in the darkest of nights, there was always a light to be found. Thank you for being here with me on Storytime. Let the warmth of this tale guide you gently into sleep, where the light of your own inner peace will continue to shine. Sleep well, and may tomorrow bring calm and clarity. Good night.